Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Team Pocket Podcast. I am Purplatypus. This is our residential professional Pokemon player, currently up to date with the meta, Laliet. How has your week with Pocket been?
Pretty good. I've been enjoying my mystery picks, getting a little bit lucky out there. I feel like they reset the algorithm, so I had to change my methodology. But how's the game for you?
And listen, I'm not going to lie, and we don't need to lie here, all right? I like Pokemon Pocket. I have not played almost at all this week. Metaphor ReFantazio came out, and there's not really a reason to play the game right now out of the love of the game. And I think all humans know, if you don't know, you should know that you don't need a reason to play a game, but as a 30-year-old, I need a game to trick me into thinking I'm not wasting my time. I need to see number go up. I need to see something come in. I need longer quests to grind. I need something that's like telling me, hey, this is not a waste of time. You're accomplishing something. So I haven't really played that much this week. I've mostly been just kind of watching content and been logging in, opening my packs. Still another, 3, 6, 9, 12, another like 20 packs. Still no Articuno EX. He's on his way, man. He's on his way. I know it. But yeah, I mean, really, it's been pretty chill for me, myself, and I'm kind of waiting for the game to fully release or get closer to fully release to start doing more decks stuff and playing. Plus, then I'm hoping, because I want to make deck lists right now, but I don't want to spend my pack points on Moltres EX, Articuno EX, Zapdos EX, and the like. Anyway,
isn't it weird how it's legendary birds that you can't get, right? Like,
it's ridiculous. Actually.
Almost thematic of the game.
I have the game pulled up. Do I have the game pulled up for you, sir? Like, can you see my,
yes, sir.
my screen? Okay, so let's take a look here really quick. I might have a Moltres EX. I do have one Moltres EX. So that's enough to run a bad Charizard deck. You know, it's half the amount that you want. I have 0 Articuno EXs. And I have 0 Zapdos EXs. Let me see if, just to make sure, maybe I have some like lucky full art of them or something, but I'm pretty sure I don't. These are really hard to look through. I'm like, what card is this? What card is this? Look at this. Look at, okay, I do have 2 Moltres EXs. There we go. So I can make the Charizard deck, but I have 0 Zapdos, 0, like, look at this. I have 2 of these, 2 of these, 1 of these. I even have the gold Charizard. The Koga, the Lieutenant Surge is cool. I mean, these are like cool pulls, but it's just like, where's the shit that I need? Anyway, but yeah, so yeah. What are we talking about today? We're going to talk, there was another tournament that went on this week. We could go over a couple of the decks. I believe you sent me a link with a lot of the decks, but I wanted to go over, or, you know, we wanted to go over the winner, basically, of that tournament, because it was a surprise, basically. It was like you could call it a meta upset in a lot of ways. I think it's kind of a dark horse of the format, right? Dark horse, black sheep, something like that.
No, dark horse, that's right. One of my favorite podcasts. So yeah, I was really excited to see this Venusaur EX deck. Shout out to Nothing But Bangers. He's out there grinding. Last time I looked, he had below 2,000 subs. So if you want to go over and check him out, he is a YouTuber. Makes some long-winded content, but I can't really talk because we talk about this game for hours on end.
I love long-winded content. People are like, you need to turn off the music in the background. You need to make it shorter. You need to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's like, it took them an hour and a half to talk about nothing. I'm like, that's what I love. I love just discussions, normal human conversation, not hyper edited on point stuff. But I'm sorry, you continue.
Absolutely. So he's got some great content out there. You know, really good stuff if you're doing anything like what you probably are doing right now, listening to us, laundry, dishes, etc. But this deck is a gem. And it was a great meta pick. I believe they did a 32-person tournament, and they knew there was going to be a lot of Pikachu EX because that's been doing really well. They were guessing there was going to be a lot of, you know, Articuno, maybe some Greninja stuff, and there was going to be a lot of Mewtwo because that's the past couple weeks what's been winning these tournaments.
I want to give myself some props, and then I want to give us some props. First, this deck is running 1 Sabrina. That's all I gotta say. The optimal amount of Sabrina. All right, just draw it when you need it, and then don't have it when you don't. I actually don't know if one Sabrina is the right answer, but I'm looking at the deck list and I don't know what I would take out, right? I think they basically decided to put in an Executor EX instead of a Sabrina, which is like fine because sometimes you always need it, but that is interesting. Sabrina is definitely the waifu of the game. There's no doubt about that. And one thing I really want to say is like, I think we kind of low key, not called this deck, of course, but like one of the things we said is about Venusaur EX is 190 is a fuck ton of HP. That is like the most HP in the game. And obviously he's not probably going to do too well against Charizard because it just like one-shots everything in the deck. But it survives so much. Like that 190 is so good because you survive double hits from Pikachu, and he actually heals 30 from doing that too. So you survive double hits from, 100 damage doesn't kill you. I think even 110 doesn't kill you in 2 hits, right? Maybe 110 does. I don't know math that well, but
yeah, it's like 110, you heal 30, and then they hit you for another 80, which is exactly the KO.
But that's why it's like, one, Venusaur EX has a crazy amount of HP, and he will heal for 30, which is, I wish it healed for 40, but maybe that'd be too busted. But you run into Ericas, right? You're running 2 Ericas, that you basically get a heal for 80 damage on 2 turns. I mean, that completely resets the clock on a lot of these things, and he's still hitting really hard. So I'm not sure, like you said, this is a top tier, super ridiculous deck. I think this is a meta call deck where it's like, if you know you're going up against Pikachu, this is just great. Like, how does Pikachu kill his Venusaur EX, before he dies? He probably just doesn't, because Executor is good against Pikachu even. Like, great, actually. Especially when you have Erica.
And Executor is also great against Articuno, and Executor into a Venusaur that's set up is always a 2KO of a Mewtwo EX, right? We know how hard they have a time of setting up a second Mewtwo EX. It's not very easy to do to have 2 of them ready to go with your Gardevoir EX. So I did want to also shout us out because I did mention the 2 ways that you probably play in our EX, video where we ranked all of the EXs, that if you play Venusaur EX, you're probably playing it with Executor or with Lilligant, I think it was, the speed energy one. And I didn't really know which one was better, but I think now that we're like a week and a half later, I do think this version is better because you don't want to make 2 grass attachments to one Pokemon just to start putting more grass energy on bench Pokemon, when you could just make 1 attachment. That's all you're going to dedicate, and you can just keep attacking, flipping coins. And when you get lucky, you can really get some damage on the board with Executor.
So one thing I want you to explain to me is, what are the 2 X speeds? What are the situation where you use these?
Well, unfortunately, Executor has 3 retreat costs, and you're never making 3 attachments to Executor. So what I believe, and I have not talked at all to Nothing But Bangers, but like if I made this deck, what I would want to kind of have happen over the course of a game is I want you to kill 2 of the non-EX in most matchups, right? 2 of the non-EX Executor, which would be 2 points, and then you have to kill one of my big boys, Venusaur EX with 190 HP, and 2 Ericas coming at you, and the self-healing, and that's going to be 4 points altogether. And it's a lot of HP to go through because that's like 200 HP just to get your first 2 points, and then another 190 to, who knows, 400 HP by the time you get through all the healing and Ericas.
That's crazy. Yeah, this is what I think is weird about X speed. So for me, X speed, it's to help you retreat, and Executor is only 1 energy. He's like Kangaskhan in a sense, where it's like, how many times do you want to retreat with Kangaskhan? Like almost never. He's doing enough damage to kill shit, for the most part, doing 30 or 60 damage. And so I feel like you would only run this if you're running 2 of them on Executor. You use the 1 energy attached to him to retreat him, put out a Venusaur to start sweeping or something. But to me, the X speed doesn't fully make sense. I feel like I would run maybe 0 X speed, and instead I'd run a Sabrina, and then I would probably run, I don't know, maybe 1 red card for like some sort of meta call, but red card usually isn't very good.
So what I would see and I haven't played this deck at all, but like just from my experience, the situation that I feel like you're going to get into too often is something like a Charizard deck, which you're going to struggle against regardless. But I do think it is winnable because you can just take out their Charizard, and then if they don't have a backup Charizard, right? Same thing with Mewtwo going on. Is the first turn they bring up the Mewtwo, and they attack, and they do 150, and they kill your Executor or whatever, and you bring up your second Executor, right? um, if they choose not to kill your second Executor because they want to build up a second Mewtwo to deal with your Venusaur EX, then you get stuck in a spot where they get the time to build it up because you have to guarantee put 2 more attachments to back it off. So I just don't want to let another deck that has OHK abilities, because we don't want to hit KO at like 120 damage. So we really need to be able to get that one switch to kill their big boy attacker when we need to kill it.
I could see that, but for me, it kind of, I feel like if I'm going against Charizard and I'm teching against Charizard because it's a bad matchup, I really feel like I want 2 Sabrina in that matchup. Like, I feel like if they lead with Moltres, like just Sabrina in it to the back line is so strong for slowing them down. Where it's like now they have their Charmander out there. They got to put energy on it to retreat the Charmander, or you're going to kill their Charmander. They're going to have a Moltres doing nothing. I feel like Sabrina is better in that matchup than X Speed is, but I mean, maybe obviously this guy won the tournament. They've played more games than I have. They're better than me. They made that call. So, I mean, I trust their judgment more, but the X speeds do to me look like the awkward slot. The Executor EX, I more understand. That one makes, because sometimes you really don't want to get an Execute without an Evolve. And they are dedicating a deck slot to really making sure that they can get 2 Executes with Executors on them. Because you're pretty much guaranteed to draw all your basics, right? There's only 4 basics in the deck. You got 2 Professors, 2 Pokeballs, and you're guaranteed to have 1 in your opening hand. So, if anything, one of the Pokeballs might go to waste on average, but like that's not the worst thing as long as you have consistency, which is your goal. But yeah, is there
the 21st slot for me is 100% a Sabrina, but without playtesting the deck, I have no idea what I cut here, and I don't want to cut anything. I like all the cards in this deck. I actually like the Executor EX because it increases the odds that you're going to have a turn 2 Executor to be able to start dishing out that damage, and to not get stuck in a situation where you're using whatever the 1 energy attack on Executor is, because you have 50 HP and you're going to die.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, obviously the game plan is Executor into Venusaur EX, but your backup plan is Executor EX into Venusaur EX, right? Like that's also viable. It's still going through 4 points effectively, although you're probably doing less. It's probably less good overall. And maybe the X speed is a Sabrina call. Maybe it's like sometimes they Sabrina you, and your Venusaur is just not ready. It's an Ivysaur, and you just have to double X speed to get out of there. Like, because you could use 1 X speed on Bulbasaur to retreat him out. You could use 2 X speeds on Ivysaur to retreat him out for free. So maybe it's more of an anti-Sabrina play as opposed to a swap into attack kind of thing,
And I agree that like both of those are perfectly reasonable reasons to run speed. Is somebody Sabrinaing up your God forbid it's a Venusaur, before you have enough energy, that's gotta really suck.
Yeah, that's like, this is a deck. This is like, now that I'm looking at the deck and talking about it more, for me, Sabrina is going to be in the opponent's deck. Everyone's running Sabrina, right? There's no restrictions other than you can only run 2. So like, I think this is the kind of deck where I evolve into Ivysaur and then I hold Venusaur until I'm ready to switch in and attack. Unless I feel like they're going to Sabrina and one-shot my Ivysaur, unless like I see that play. But like being able to retreat Ivysaur out for 1 less energy is so much better, because if you get Venusaur out there, he has 190 HP and 2 energy attached to him. You're just like, fuck, bro, what am I gonna do here? So I think if people aren't really running red card that much, I think you keep the Ivysaur there to kind of hopefully play around it. Maybe that's a little risky though, I don't know, but I think I would try to not evolve into the EX when possible.
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things about a tournament meta is like in a tournament meta, red card actually becomes much worse because you're expecting everyone to have it. So you're going to make your strategy in a way where you're planning not to use, not to allow yourself to get red carded. And by not allowing yourself to get red carded, you make red card bad. But that actually makes it so a deck like this that doesn't run red card actually gets improved, because if somebody else, if you know everyone else is metagaming against red card, just don't play red card. And now you have 2 extra slots or 1 extra slot that you didn't have before. And they're going to still make choices, assuming you have a red card. And yeah, that could be really cool.
This would be a great deck to make a video with. Maybe I'll craft this deck and make a video of it as well, just to kind of get some, reps in to see how it works. But yeah, any other decks from the tournament that kind of stuck out to you?
I thought the most interesting thing from the tournament was, like, if we just went over like the top 8 decks. So it's like, all right, we got,
let me open some of these.
Marowak deck, right? That was in the semifinal. That got either 3rd or 4th. They played against Mewtwo. The finals was Mewtwo versus Venusaur. So 2 Mewtwo's, right? Which, if Venusaur was looking at that as a positive matchup and had a really good game plan against that, then that's perfect. Like, seeing Mewtwo, Marowak, when you get to the top 4, you're like, I'm in. I did it. Like, you know what I mean? As long as I don't draw like absolute shit.
Marowak
for your
like
top 8,
such a weird meta call. Like, I mean, sorry, it seems like a weird tournament call. Like, you're going in for the gamba, you're like, hey, I don't care, like, I'm gonna either cheese this out or I'm gonna lose. Whatever happens. And Marowak's a good card, but like, when you get those 2 tails, it really is bad.
Yeah, Marowak is one of those things where it's like, if you think you're really good at the game, don't run that deck. But if you're like, I'm not the best at the game, but I would like a chance to win against the best at the game, then play Marowak. Like, now you have a chance against anybody.
That's true. That's kind of how I feel about Misty too. It's like, sometimes Misty just cheats you a win, man. It just, like, every now and then you just get there.
It's true.
I actually really I like this deck. I mean, Sandslash is a good card. This is literally like the starter deck that they gave me. Like, not literally, but it's pretty darn close. They would basically take out they would take out 6 items and put in random basic Pokemon for the starter deck. But the idea is Sandshrew, Sandslash, Cubone, Marowak. And Farfetch'd is great too. So I mean, I think what makes this deck good is this is maybe not Pikachu level, but this is an aggro deck. This is a tempo deck, right? On 1 energy, you're doing 40. On 2 energy, you're doing 70, or you're doing 80 or 160. These are very high damage numbers for low energy costs. So, and you have a Giovanni there and Sabrina. So this feels like it's basically a non-Pikachu aggro deck.
Yeah, and it does well against Pikachu, of course, right? Because it's fighting. So top 8 had 2 Pikachu decks. They lost out. If we look at the matchups, it's like Pikachu played against Mewtwo, lost. Pikachu played against Marowak, lost. So that's where that went. Charizard lost against Venusaur. Really cool to see that in the top 8, right?
Interesting. Let's take a look at the deck that lost to Venusaur. Was it this one, Charizard EX?
Yeah, Charizard EX.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, 2 Moltres EXs, 2 Charizard EXs. I mean, this is the standard. Maybe it's not super standard in the sense that they are running 2 red cards. But again, that's kind of like a tournament thing. But like, as far as like the Pokemon, this is the basic, right? This is what you're looking for when you're running the Charizard Moltres deck. You're running all EX forms. Again, I actually like the other Charizard a bit more, but again, if Venusaur EX is suddenly meta, then this Charizard I think is like viable, more viable, because one of the few things he doesn't one-shot non-EX is the Venusaur, even with type advantage. So the 200 damage becomes relevant in that. I mean, it's still not. You can still do 170 damage and get the job done, but the point is, I actually am interested. Do you think you'd make any changes to this deck? I don't think so. I don't love red card in general.
In a tournament, it's really just like, am I a red card player or am I somebody countering red card? Like, that's really that's all that is. And it's like, this is the exact deck that I see people play on ladder. And if there's a flex slot, it's just the number of red cards you play. And if you want, like, you're not playing Giovanni in this deck.
I actually think it's kind of crazy that Charizard EX has a retreat cost of 2. That's like really low. I don't know how often you're actually retreating him, but most of these EXs have 3 or 4. I mean, Starmie has 0, but I mean, you know, like, I feel like that's pretty low. This deck seems like kind of what I was saying. This deck feels really weak to Sabrina. It just like because your goal is obviously not to have Charmander on your front. You want to have Moltres on your front, right? You want to draw Moltres in your opening hand, put it down, put an energy on it, and ramp into your Charizard, double X speed it out, or 1 energy retreat it into the Charizard and just win. But if they Sabrina out your Charmander and you gotta, instead of attacking with Moltres using your Inferno Dance, you have to put an energy on your Charmander. If you have an X speed in your hand, I guess it's not as bad.
Right. That's why you run 2, right? Is like legit for switching the 1 retreat cost Charmanders out.
It's a little tough because, yeah, you know, Moltres is right on that point where if you get 1 X speed, it's pretty good. Because, yeah, it has a retreat cost of 2, but you want 1 energy on it for its Inferno Dance. So if you use 1 X speed to get your Charmander out of there for free, put Moltres back, energy on Moltres, you can still draw your 2nd X speed and Moltres out by removing his 1 energy to put Charizard back in. Yeah, I still feel like this is a deck that's probably bad against Sabrina, because if you have any kind of tempo or setup, like you could one-shot Charmeleon with a Pikachu, right? You could like Sabrina out their Charmeleon, just kill that right away, and then they kind of have no setup, right? Unless they have like double things out. But I feel like that's a pretty big vulnerability of the deck. But overall, if you're not there, you don't get Sabrina, I think this deck is kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, you could say the same thing for like all of the stage 2s, right? Because you're playing like a 60 HP like Pokemon. Even if it's 70, it's like Pikachu is going to kill all of them, all the basic evolution Pokemon, in 1 hit. If you get a Sabrina. I also want to take a look at this Blaine in the top 8. Like, this is a really cool deck.
Let's take a look.
Not something I expected to see, but this is a single prize deck, so they want you to kill 3 things that are some combination of Rapidash, Mangar, I think I was going to say, but Magmar, and then, of course, Ninetales, which are the 3 Pokemon that you can Blaine.
I mean, here's the thing. I think out of all these cards, Ninetales is pretty good. 90 damage for 2 energy. Yes, you have to discard an energy, but like, that's Pikachu and without an EX attached to it, right? Without the downside of EX. So that's pretty good, because the Magmar I think is kind of weird. Magmar I think kind of sucks. Like, I don't think I would run the Magmar. I know maybe you just want another target for Blaine. That way Blaine always has a target.
I don't think you really like starting in your active slot at the beginning of the game, Vulpix or Ponyta.
Maybe, but then you're only running 1 Magmar, so you're probably not gonna put it in your opening slot anyway, and then you're probably not. I guess because then if you're gonna put in 2 energy to it, I don't know. If the Magmar feels a little awkward to me. I still think I would rather just run a Farfetch'd and just start smacking things to have more of an aggro start. You don't need that much setup time. But like, Rapidash needs 1 energy, and Ninetales only needs 2. So.
I'm not sure Magmar is correct, but that's just like what I'm guessing is the reason that we're running another slot here, is to reduce the number of times that you start, particularly Vulpix, right? Because that's your better attacker, and you don't mind starting Ponyta a ton because it's like its evolution attacks with 1 energy, right? So
what is Giovanni good against in this deck? Fire Main goes up to 50. I guess over 2 turns that's 90. Flamethrower goes up to 100. Magma Punch goes up to 60.
You kill Kangaskhan.
That's true. You can kill Kangaskhan with Ninetales pretty easily. I mean, maybe the idea is you use Blaine and then the next turn you use Giovanni for a total of 40 more damage over 2 turns. That would let Rapidash do 40, 50, 60, 70. 110, 120 damage. Okay, so that's suddenly pretty relevant. So if Rapidash attacks with a Blaine, it does 70 damage, and then it attacks with the Giovanni, and it does another 50 damage. Then that's 120. So that could kill Pikachu. So I wonder if that's kind of like the play line you're thinking here. Because I feel like it's weird to run 2 Blaines and a Giovanni, because Giovanni is just really bad Blaine in this deck. But I think it must be for over those 2 turns kind of thing. That way you don't burn both Blaines, which is kind of a funny term. Yeah, this is not a deck I would have ever expected to see. The HP levels are too low for me to be like confident, right? If your Ninetales gets one shot by a Pikachu and it doesn't one shot them, that's pretty tough to deal with. But it does one shot them if you have Blaine. So suddenly, you know, you're going toe to toe with their EX. If their Pikachu kills their Magmar, you switch into Ninetales, Blaine, kill their Pikachu. Like, that's very relevant. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's surprisingly
here's a crazy thing. All right, so like one of my favorite things in tournaments is upsets, right? So it's like they did a Swiss and then they did a top cut, which is cool. Love it. So the number 1 seed is playing Mewtwo, and on that side of the bracket, there were 5 Mewtwo's. So you knew Mewtwo was going to come out of the first round mathematically.
yes.
Only 1 Mewtwo came out of the first round. All right. Which was the one that was mathematically promised because they played each other, right? Mewtwo lost to Blaine, Mewtwo lost to Charizard, Mewtwo lost to Venusaur, all EXs. And
Wow.
I thought it was very interesting that the person piloting this Blaine deck was Raggett, or something like that. And Raggett, beat the number 1 Swiss player and then lost to the number 8 Swiss player with Mewtwo. So I wonder how much of that was like, I think it's kind of a favorable matchup. You get to attack fast with this deck against Mewtwo. Hopefully before they can get their stage 2 set up to start energy ramping. You only have to kill 2 Mewtwo EXs or any other kind of like Pokemon that you can bring up.
Let's take a look at
Say
a
you get
Mewtwo deck
evolved.
here. Here's one of them. So Mewtwo has 150 HP. That is a 2-rounder for Ninetales and a 17-rounder for Rapidash. Not literally, but like you don't want even 2 Rapidash with 2 Blaines is probably not getting there. So you're basically relying on your Ninetales to get the job done. It looks like, to me, it looks like a tough matchup if they're opening with Mewtwo, because Psychic Sphere is basically their. I mean, that's Magmar. It does that, but worse, right? Magmar does the same thing, but worse in a lot of ways. Although maybe if you just get Magmar Blaine, that's 160. You do get to kill the Mewtwo, but like you don't want to rely on getting 2 Blaines. But I mean, I guess it really what it comes down to is Blaine's a pretty good card. 30 extra damage for your support slot is a lot, and I think that's like the upset potential of the deck, because 150 HP seems like a lot, but when you're holding in your hand a potential for 60 or 70 bonus damage over a couple turns, I mean, these decks don't heal. This deck doesn't have a way to heal, and if they have to retreat their Mewtwo, they're in trouble.
Yeah, so I thought it was a good
there is a
meta
potion,
call.
but...
Yeah. I thought Blaine was a good meta call as well, and it's just really nice to see these different decks being played. On the other side, we have, of that side of the top 16, we had 4 Pikachus, right? 2 Pikachus made it in the top 8. We had 2 Mewtwo's. One of them made it into the top 8. We had the Marowak, as we know, that went on to get like 3rd or 4th. And we did have 1 Greninja, but Greninja, unfortunately, lost out to Pikachu, as you would expect. Greninja is an interesting name for a deck, because Greninja, you wouldn't expect itself to be a deck. It would be Greninja X or Greninja Y. So, but Greninja did not make the top 8.
I don't think I even have that one on the. Okay, yeah, that's why it wasn't in the top 8. I think what's kind of interesting is, I wonder how much of, it said there's like 4 Pikachus, 4 Mewtwo's or whatever, like a bunch of these. I wonder how much of it is. Because there's like the meta is what people are playing, but it's not necessarily what's good always. Usually it is, but like an element is like, are these decks being overrepresented for their power level because this is what people perceive as being powerful, or are they as powerful as people are perceiving? Because obviously Venusaur walks out on top of the whole tournament. Like, you're going into a tournament with a lot of what are perceived as the most powerful decks and beating them. I mean, again, maybe it's specific to this meta, but I mean, this is the only meta we got right now. So it makes me wonder if Pikachu EX is a worse card than people think, but maybe if the deck is not as like untouchably strong as it felt in the first week. Same with like Mewtwo and Charizard maybe these are just more like in line with like fair decks that are powerful. And I mean, because now Venusaur is coming up too. Like, I don't think that was on many people's radars. It was kind of considered a meme, I think, even though like I think we kind of called that it would be strong. I don't think I was thinking like about specific matchups. Like I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, this beats Pikachu or anything like that, you know?
Yeah, I think my only worry was how popular was Charizard going to be, and I think we found out like very much kind of like what we've said from the beginning. Like I don't think Charizard is better. Charizard is a worse Mewtwo deck, right? Even though it has the better card as an independent card in Moltres, but the thing about Moltres is you have to attack with it, you have to get heads, and you've got to get if you want to get two Charizard EXs set up, that takes a long time.
A long time.
It doesn't always. Sometimes your Moltres dies before you get a second one set up, etc. Well, with Mewtwo, once you do actually have your stage 2 going, you can get a second one set up way easier than you can get a second.
Yeah, you get a ball out your sweeper, right? You get it as use a Pokeball, get your Mewtwo into your hand if you haven't drawn it yet, put it down, start putting energy on it if you need to. Meanwhile, Mewtwo, like, it's really nice that Mewtwo is your frontliner and your sweeper. He's the full package in one, because even early game, he's still smacking for 50 with 150 HP. Like, that's a lot of HP for a basic, and a decent amount of damage for a basic. And then in the later game, you eventually get through it, and they just have another one, right? And then this one already has 4 energy on it. So yeah, I think like the Charizard deck is, like you said, just a worse Mewtwo deck. It's kind of funny because it's the same layout, right? It's 6 in the stage 2 line and 2 in the basics, but you switch it. These become your main cards, and the stage 3 becomes your support cards, which is just kind of fun. So yeah, I mean, I think Charizard's a good deck, and Moltres is a better card than any card in the Mewtwo deck, but I don't know what the deck needs to hit that next level. I think if they add a really powerful stage 1, like Pokemon, like suddenly because Moltres is always in danger, I think, of breaking fire decks if they add something just a little bit too good. Something that requires 4 energy, but it's a stage 1 and it does 180 damage or something. I don't know. You know, it's like, I think if you don't need to get those 2 stage 2s online, and instead you could get 2 stage 1s or 2 basics, like if RK9 EX wasn't terrible, I guess that's a stage 1, but I think this deck is something we got to look out for in the future. But yeah, right now I think you're probably just running Mewtwo, right?
Yeah, so it's like one of those things, if you know that Mewtwo and Pikachu are going to be half or more of the meta, then Venusaur becomes a great play. So, you know, meta decking is what wins tournaments, and people generally play what they think is good, and more importantly, what they think is good is what won before, right? So they see the tournament videos come out of the recaps, they see the Pikachu EX decks, they see the Mewtwo decks, they might even see the Articuno decks, and then as we see, you know, the meta shift, people make good picks, and this was a great one. So cool tournament. I really, you know, appreciate that we have these things going on even before the game really releases to create more of an incentive to play. I actually have tried to get in the tournament the last 2 weeks, but not a big enough name in the space, you know what I mean? No, I'm just playing. I don't try to pull any favors. I wait for them to mention it, but I'm usually at work, and then by the time I go to fill it,
it's already full. Yeah.
It's already full.
They might have to start running 2 a week if, especially when the game actually launches. They're gonna probably want they're gonna get a lot of popularity, and also they should have a YouTube channel up. I don't know if they actually released it yet, but they said they were gonna have highly edited content going over their tournaments and stuff. So we'll see. But I think that is gonna be, as at this point we're gonna just talk around circles regarding the tournament. So, like you said, great tournament. I love an underdog story. And I mean, I bet there wasn't another Venusaur EX deck even submitted into the tournament. And so it's fun to see it come out. You're
probably right.
I think it's fun to watch it come out on top.
Both the number 1 and the number 2 seeds from Swiss were Mewtwo decks that lost against, you know, an interesting deck in the first round of cuts. So that was really cool. We should throw, I don't know if we will, but check a link to the Discord, so you guys could get in on that tournament action and kind of see where the decks are, talk about, more high level gameplay stuff. There's a lot of excitement around the competitive aspect of the game.
Yeah, I have it in a different one of my videos, so I can just copy paste it over to this one as well. All right, so I believe it is time to take a look at our sponsor. Sponsored content. Again, another week, another new sponsor. You guys aren't buying enough product. You had a problem with using real Pokemon in your products. Honestly, it's a little ridiculous, but okay. Team Pocket approves.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of how we made a name for ourselves. But we are actually lucky. I don't want to kind of brag, but we got sponsored actually by a product in the game. So we are sponsored by Stardust. So this week, our sponsor comes to you as Stardust. You have cards collecting dust in your Pokemon Pocket collection. Why not turn them into something truly valuable? Introducing Stardust, the ultimate currency made from the ashes of your unwanted cards. That's right, sacrifice the cards you don't want, harness their Stardust to power up your favorites. In Pokemon Pocket, it's all about survival of the fittest. So break down your lesser cards, scatter their ashes, and use the essence of their destruction to decorate and enhance your most powerful allies. It's time to take your game to the next level, fueled by the remnants of your defeated deck. Stardust, because in this world, it's upgrade or be left in the dust.
That's right. Remember, when you see all these sparkly effects, that is the corpses of your old cards that are making that shine. So thank you very much, Stardust, for sponsoring. As always, just use code Team Pocket at checkout.
Yeah, Team Pocket at checkout. And, make sure you go out there and you actually use some of your Stardust. Some of us are sitting on tens of thousands of Stardust, and we need to sprinkle that on our cards.
Can I just say that this card added, I just happened to click on this. This card is maybe my favorite art of all time in the game for 3 different reasons. One, I've never seen 2 Dittos in a shouting match. Just, hey! 2 Dittos, they're clearly fighting. Like, they're not happy. They're both pissed. Also, I did not know Ditto could copy inanimate objects like this leaf. That's new tech for me. And beyond that, I fucking look at this Caterpie. Fucking traumatized looking at that Caterpie. That's the Mewtwo. That's the Ditto Caterpie with the dumb smiley face on it. He's like, what the fuck is that? I don't think they're supposed to look like that.
The real question here is how many Dittos can you find? All right.
Yeah, how many Dittos are in this card? I mean, there's one real Pokemon, and the Ditto is basically like, well, I don't even want to say what it is, but 1, 2, 3.
Let's just start
4,
from the top,
5.
right? We got Caterpie, Ditto.
Hey, get her down.
Over to the left, we have Tree Ditto. But go up higher.
Oh, I missed that Ditto.
And then you go down to have that weird like orange leaf one. 2 real Dittos that are copying each other. That's pretty cool.
3, 4, 5.
The red leaf Ditto on the right. This rock is a Ditto.
Wait, this rock is a Ditto? Yeah. Right beneath the text.
That rock is a Ditto. And then we get that leaf Ditto. And we could even be missing one. So make sure you put in the comments if you see another Ditto that we did not.
My official guess is, after we both looked and you helped me out, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Dittos, which is impressive because I originally said 5. So there was 3 more Dittos that I missed. That cloud, that's a Ditto. Probably it's not, but like,
I do wish the mountain was a Ditto because it's like that's one big ass Ditto, right?
Yeah. Anyway, this is maybe my favorite art. There's so much about this card going on that is so funny. I was like,
since you pulled this up, and this is not part of our show that we prepared for or anything, but I learned this week that Ditto can only copy if it has the same color energy as the opposing Pokemon, and I really thought it was just the number of energy it was looking at because of some other Pokemon TCG cards. God.
So you're telling me this is actually the worst card of all time? It's actually, at that point, just let it copy anything. It should say copy anything, parentheses, except for anything. Except for your own shit.
It should be called copy nothing, because you're never going to be able to copy their attacks.
This is basic, like, they have a Farfetch'd. You can attack their Farfetch'd while having 10 more HP, and it doesn't fucking matter because you both die in 2 hits. Wow, that's bad. It's a very cool art, though. All right. We're going to get into the next thing. There are new promo cards. We're talking about events. I don't know what's coming out. All right. I've got Mr. Moneybags here. He says he's been watching all the videos. He sent me this link. Tell me what is coming to Pokemon Pocket? What have they leaked?
All right. So some content creators have gotten permission to actually talk about the things they saw in the pre-launch event in Los Angeles. So what they saw is they saw a Meowth and a what's the other Pokemon? Chansey. And now we can actually see the tokens we were talking about last week and trying to describe. So those pink tokens that you see around the lower right of the cards for Chansey and Meowth, those are from the event for Wonder Picking. So there will be a Wonder Pick event for both of those, assumably on launch. And also there will be the Lapras EX, which is right in the center of the screen. Has the promo symbol for, I mean, I don't know why some of them have this promo symbol. I guess those are the ones that are in the promo packs versus the promos that are in the shop. But you will see that Lapras EX. And if we make it bigger, if we can, I don't know for sure, if we have the technology, you will see this is a pretty mediocre card, but you never want to underestimate the power of Misty and the power of a basic EX.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction is like maybe this isn't even better than normal Lapras, but heal 80 damage, 3 energy, that's low. 20 HP is like a little bit low. I mean, is this not read very similar to Vaporeon? It reads pretty similar to Vaporeon, but it's a basic. You don't need to run an EV first.
I'm not convinced that it's a great card, but what I am convinced of is it will be available on day one, according to my sources, and there will be an event that will look a lot like our current PvE events. There'll be a couple tiers of difficulty. You'll play against a Lapras EX deck, and after you clear enough of it, you will get the reward of a Lapras EX.
Is there anything here that's remotely like, oh, good? I mean, obviously, like things that are in the game. Greninja's good, Mewtwo is fine, but like the Mankey, 1 energy for 30 damage, deals 10 to himself.
The best Mankey that we're gonna have
until someone Farfetches you when you're at 40 HP, like that could be rough. Overall, I'm not super impressed with this selection.
They put Greninja in, right? Because Greninja is, I believe, a competitive level Pokemon.
I think so I have 0 or cool. 1.
What?
I have 0 or 1 Greninja, so I definitely need
you have 0 or 1.
I need to. I'm happy that he's here because I'll be able to get him.
In the promos. That Mewtwo art is sick. I love the Venusaur art, although I'm like, move the symbol out of the way so that it doesn't cover up part of the promo, right? Like, that's right where the Venusaur is, so stop covering up its butt. I want to look at it.
I don't think that'll be in the game. Do you think so? Well, let's take a look. Because if we take a look at the professor,
that is the asset that is in the game right now.
Because this is a promo card, but they don't have the symbol on it. Maybe it's just in the store. Like when it's in the store, it has like a promo thing, and then when you get it, it won't have it.
Well, there's going to be promo packs, right? So the ones coming in the promo packs have their symbol.
Okay. I don't know the difference between a promo pack and just a pack, but like it's just getting cards from packs.
Well, a promo pack will likely be like a 1 or 2 card pack that is in the store that you can buy with points you get from the Lapras event.
All right, listen, I'm gonna say something that may be unpopular. I don't know. Does this not give you sperm in the vagina vibes? Like this is like this guy looks like he's swimming towards. This is like the fallopian tube 1 or whatever. This is the other fallopian tube or whatever. However that shit works. All right, I didn't take biology, but I mean it looks like he looks like a big sperm, right?
Yeah, the Onyx is doing anal, right? Because he didn't make it into either of the fallopian tubes.
Right. These are the fallopian tubes. He's in the butt right now, and he's so sad about it. Yeah, no, that's.
He actually just gave up and just died in there,
Yeah.
as many of us have during anal. But nonetheless, men know nothing about women's anatomy, so we can comment on this and look like idiots. It's cool.
Other than that, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot here that's exciting to me. I mean, getting a Lapras. Here's the thing. It's cool to get a new card. Yay. In a card game, it's much less cool to get a new card that kind of sucks. I'm like, oh, cool, a thing I will never use. So I'm not super excited about it. I don't really care about cosmetics. I'm a game piece guy. So I'm excited about this Greninja because I still need them. And I don't have any Butterfrees, so I'm excited for the Butterfree. So this will help me complete my collection. But other than that, like, I'm never going to run Chansey, right? Chansey is just Snorlax, but worse, probably. Like, it's the exact same card, but probably a little bit worse. I don't know. Because it's still, you still can't attack with it, and it's just survives less. Meowth is a good
Meowth
card,
is cool.
but, like, there's already cool Meowths in the game. I don't particularly like this art for it. But, I mean, again, you'll be able to... It's weird. It's like, oh, it's a special Chansey pick. But it's like, these are, like, common nothing cards, you know? Like, I wanted some cool, big Huevos cards, you know? But...
Don't get that on launch of a free-to-play game. But what I will say is if you can take the money out of your pockets, Mr. Moneybags, and think about a new player experience. It's day one. You don't really have many cards. You open up your 40 or 50 packs, and you see there's a Lapras EX event, and you only have two EXs, and you're like, man, I can guaranteed get an EX. Like, that's awesome. Let me go get that. Oh, I opened up a Misty. This card seems really good. Let me run Lapras EX with Misty, and it gives you a pretty decent vibe for how like ladder feels.
I don't think Lapras is a bad card for a new collection. Like, this is like, if I had Lapras day one, it would have been my best card. Like, it's better than Vaporeon, probably. Probably almost strictly because it's a basic. Because you can't Misty. The worst thing about Vaporeon is you can't Misty the Eevee, so you need to have it evolved and then Misty it, and you don't always know if it's gonna pop or if you're gonna get nothing out of it, so you kind of have to commit first. But yeah, you're gonna get Greninja. Like, these are good things to get. It is weird that it's only Venusaur, right? It's none of the other big boys. It's no Charizard.
Yeah, and if I would guess, you're gonna continue to see like first three promo drops like this with like promo packs. You're gonna see a full art Venusaur, a full art Charizard, a full art Blastoids.
It's a great
and
art,
a full
by the way.
And you're gonna see like Greninja. You're gonna see like Gardevoir, and you're gonna see like what's another stage 2 that's really good? Alakazam. Like, you're gonna see a meta card in there and full art of one of the starters. And I mean, it's cool that you get a different Bulbasaur as well. Does that really matter? For the collectors, it does. That's really it, But this is a game that has like 2 separate player bases that are like kind of super separate. So as we are much more of players of the game than collectors, the promos are not going to be much for someone who's played through the entire, early access to be excited about.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this Bulbasaur is going to be in the same, not the same picture, but like the same environment as the sleeping Venusaur. I would assume so. Flowers, like I could see.
You can see the same purple flowers on the left, right?
Like, I could see him being in here or like under here, really small.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see the full art Ivysaur.
This doesn't look like he's inside of a enclosure or in the environment, though. He looks like he's kind of out in the woods, but maybe it's just the angle, because this is clearly like he could be under here, but we don't get to see this. We'd only like the camera would be right here. So I don't know. I kind of hope this is the same picture. It's kind of hard to tell, but like I like when they do thematic artwork between cards.
Absolutely.
Like, I really hope that there's a Nidoking. Like, I like that this Nidoking is just sleeping in the middle. Like, is he sleeping, or maybe he hurt himself, man? I don't know. I thought he was sleeping. I think he knocked himself out on the tree, though. Yeah, this is a picture worth 1,000 words. I thought he was taking a nap, but he's covered in mud. The tree's broken. It's like he used thrash, and then he hurt himself in confusion, right?
I thought he was like sliding down a hill.
Maybe he had fun, and then he crashed.
And then the Nidoqueen's just being a good mom, and he's like just, you know, the average dad that he went to the store to get milk, and he never came back because he's thrashing.
Also, this seems like maybe out of all the art on all the cards, this one seems like the most dangerous to people. Like, this guy seems like he's actively spreading poison. I mean, he's sucking it in, not expunging it, but like, his ability is called Gas Leak. He's clearly, people live here. This feels like this is the closest I've seen to seeing like Pokemon attacking houses, you know?
Well, Weezing is a Team Pocket Pokemon, and we would expect him to do his best to really, like, you know, in the Pokemon world, we are essentially PETA, only we do something about it, right? So we're going into the towns, we're starting gas leaks, we're arsonists, you know?
Also, can I just say
that Electrode?
Oh, you tell me about the Electrode.
The Electrode's also a Team Pocket Pokemon and is going to blow up a local power plant, you know what I mean? So we can shut down all your town's power. And do you like that little Zapdos that's up there?
Yeah.
Because this is actually from the location in the original game, the power plant.
The power plant, yeah. And don't worry, we will make sure the Electrode kills himself in the explosion. We will not allow him to escape. This Slowpoke art pisses me off because this is the only full art card that's extended art of like the normal card. It's literally the normal card, just extended. All of the other ones are like a new version of the art, but that Slowpoke, we come up here and the easiest.
Just zoomed out, isn't it?
It's literally zoomed out. Look at.
But this has a special place in my heart. So if you played Pokemon TCG, card game on Game Boy, behind a painting, you get the original. Like, not this one, but the zoomed in version. That's the exact art, I believe, of Slowpoke that you get when you look behind in one of the very first gyms you go to. There's a picture and they say, nothing really to look at here. Oh, wait, what's this? And there is a guy that you talk to, like when you beat him or something. He's like, hey, you should go look behind the picture over there. You know what I mean?
That's cool. I mean, I do like this art, but it's like out of all the full arts, it's the only one that's an extended art.
Yeah, it is kind of the only one that sucks. Like, if you look at the quality of the rest of these, and then you look at that one, because you know, it is like a zoomed out version of an original card from the first set of Pokemon TCG. Yeah, it's just weird.
I like that
this is kind of a beautiful little card.
It is cool, but like it adds to the Ditto thing. Like, so we know Ditto don't go more than like 1 foot beneath the surface, right? Like, this is like their entire body. Also, they're bad at making tunnels because none of these connect. They're all coming from different angles off screen into the center of the card, and they're all lost. This guy isn't even in a tunnel. This guy's in an individual spot. He spawned there. What's this guy doing? Where did he come from? He came from like our perspective, like the tunnel is perpendicular to our vision of the camera. Like, it's a very weird card, but I do really like it. But this is, you know, pretty much all we have to say about the promos. I think just wanted to talk about them. Here's the thing. One of the best things you could do in this game right now is appreciate the art, because it's one of the most standout things of the game. There's not really much of a reason to play right now. In fact, I think there's a couple issues with the game. Like, for me, like, I've spent a couple $100, and it's like the first $100 felt really good. I mean, I fucking loved it. I was cracking packs, getting cards, and now it's like every pack I've opened since that $100 has felt bad. Like, every single one, because every pack is filled with cards I already have. And I don't think that's going to be necessarily a long-term problem. I think this is a soft launch problem. No trading, not that many sets. But I do hope that they will expand. I think it's important to have ways to spend money that feels good if the game wants to have a long lifespan. And I'm sure Pokemon will have no shortage of ways to monetize it because people like Pokemon. And I hope it's through cosmetics, but I hope it's not only through cosmetics. Because Legends of Runeterra, I think, kind of showed that if you make the game pieces pretty easy, but you make cosmetics the primary resource, it's just not a viable business model. But Also, you know, I know I'm saying, yeah, make the cards more expensive. Just release enough cards where it's I want them to release cards that are also meta relevant. And maybe, like you said, that's not what they were. That's not what their idea was. They're just making cards, releasing cards. I'm sure they have a game designer behind it, kind of trying to sculpt the meta into something. Like, I'm sure they put some thought into it, even if not a huge team. But I hope every month or so, like if they don't rebalance cards and they don't release meta relevant cards on a monthly to semi-monthly basis, like, I mean, I don't see how the game is going to compete in, like, from a gameplay standpoint in the long term. Something like Marvel Snap has a meta that changes on a weekly basis because of a new card coming out, or once a month it has a pretty drastic meta shakeup with rebalancing. So I'm hoping that they're going to be able to release some new cards that are interesting at a fast enough pace. I mean, they've got all the cards made already, right? Like, they have 600 million cards made. They just have to adjust a couple things, choose which ones they want to release, and they could release cards for years and years and years to come.
Yeah, and I fully believe that they will address each of those kind of things. I think they will release sets fast enough to keep people interested in buying them, etc. The only thing about the competitive piece that you're talking about, I do expect them to just, you know, print more powerful cards or more stabilizing cards for metas, not metas, builds and stuff like that, like metal. But this game was designed as a collection first, right?
Yes.
So they probably already have the first 3-4 sets made. They're packeted, they're ready to go right now. We're just waiting for the rollout speeds. But as you know, content and the player base has shown, like, competitive is going to be what people want. And I don't think that feedback will really get to them in time for them to make a set where we might be waiting 3-4 months before we ever see a set that was looked at like, oh, we actually do want to build a set thinking about a ladder experience and meta diversity and all these things. I think right now that's a secondary effect. And given that it's just a secondary effect, the battles still feel really good. The meta does feel pretty diverse, where it's like you can get away with playing a lot of things. And the fact that, you know, in a tournament setting that you can pick a deck specifically against what you're based on what you're going to play against, and you can win a whole tournament off of that, just shows that the game has a pretty good balance for day one.
Yeah, I hope that because a lot of the cards are kind of cookie cutter in a lot of ways. Like, there's a lot of cards that are very, very, very similar, do very similar things, are just following a mathematical formula. Like, oh, this is a stage 1, 2 energy, does 70, retreats for 2, but this one's the fighting one, this one's the grass one, or whatever. I hope that they add some, like, one thing I love about Magic is the breadth. I mean, of course, you can't compare the games to Magic, and fair. But, like, one thing I love about it is how many different ways you can get to the win condition. I want them to add cards that are like Gengar, like hand disruption cards, control cards, you know, aggro cards, mid range. I hope they don't just like, oh, here's Venusaur. All right, well, here's Venusaur released 2 months later, and he deals 90 damage instead of 80. And he heals for 40 instead of 30. Now you got to do that. So I'm hoping that they really, really mess with the design space and really kind of go crazy with it. But again, like you said, that's not their main goal. They're probably going to release a lot of very simple stuff for quite a while, and then it'll probably start ramping up. I mean, I think it really is going to actually come down to the players. If a lot of people are spending money to get meta relevant cards, and people are mostly, because the more people play your game, the more people are going to spend money on your game, right? The more people play the competitive scene, or the ladder, or just the thing, the more you want the fancy cards to show off, you know? Like, people, like, if no one's playing the game and you're just collecting it, you don't necessarily care if you have the gold crown rare Charizard, but you're going up against someone and then you put your crown rare Charizard and you win, you're just like, there's flare on that bitch. You're like, oh yeah. It feels good. Especially that it feels so good when you just like kill it with a Greninja. You're just like, yeah, then you kill their stupid crown rare flared Charizard with a promo Greninja.
Ew.
Very rude. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that's basically all we had to talk about today. We're right at the 1 hour mark, so I think it's good for us to go, and we're gonna see you next week. You remember our outro?
We have an outro?
We have an outro. All right. 3, 2, 1. Team Pocket is blasting off the game.
On the rise, watch the views go.